I think
you don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, it was very strange because 1 month before he started to tell us how he would like to have his body after his death to be death. So he was like kind of giving advices.
Yeah.
But I don't think he wanted it. It's just sometimes I hear that, and even myself, I don't know if I. So what is wrong dying in an accident? That's my main question. Is it wrong?
It can be good, it can be bad. It's like, I don't know, you know.
Okay.
If you're lying in a hospital or in a hospice or you're somewhere for months and even years, I don't know, maybe better to die suddenly. I don't know.
Okay.
You can't say, you know, it's good to die suddenly in an accident from a heart attack, or it's good to really prepare.
Okay.
I don't know.
But then you don't have a chance to, if you don't have a peaceful mind, then perhaps just before this, you do have a chance to be able to, in an express way,
Maybe.
try and generate a peaceful mind.
Maybe, but also maybe in an accident you don't have time to be afraid.
Yes.
You know, I'm sure we've all been in situations where it got really tight and it was dangerous, but we didn't have time to think.
Yeah, or I had only a little bit of time and a lot of thoughts came in that small short time before I had the accident.
Yeah. Or we have a lot of thought, but sometimes we react quite well, and we actually the accident does not happen because the cognitive we're not kind of having fear, and we're just reacting to the situation almost instinctively, and that can be quite well. But again, it can be like this. It cannot be.
So it's not like a cause of a bad karma or something.
No.
Okay. That was more my question.
No, I mean we're all you know, it is a result of a consequence of something. If you die suddenly, usually they say if your life is shortened by accident, it's a ripening of a kind of killing others. So, but you see, it's a consequence of killing, having lots of sicknesses or having your life shortened. But again, when we talk about karma, the result or the consequence is it good, is it not good? It depends what you make of it. It's not like killing somebody, I die in an accident, is very bad because it harms me, or that. This we don't know. So one talks about negative karma, negative actions, because they lead to something that we don't want. Yeah, they lead to suffering. That's why they're called negative actions, same as negative emotions. But what you make of the result, or what you make of the consequence, like the Tibetans, because they are familiar with how karma works. So I tell you, when negative things happen to them, they're so happy. Because they know, well, the ones I know, personally, if it's not too big or if it's not too bad. But it's always the first thing comes, what? Negative karma ripening. Not like, it's your fault. Yeah. Very often, and I remember Lama Yeshe's half-brother, Tushita, when he was Sakadawa, so it was a very big day, you know, where the benefits like increased 100 million times or something like that. And he fell and he tried to hold himself, and then he had his thumb kind of sticking out here. So you can imagine how painful that is. Just even describing it, you feel like your mirror neurons going like, ah. And he was sitting on the ground and he looked at his thumb going like this. He said, look, look, look. And on a day like this, how auspicious, how auspicious. I thought, okay. So the pain was there, but he knew he was exhausting negative karma. He knew that because it was such a powerful day, he assumed it was such a powerful day, then he was very happy about this whole thing. And if you look at the Tibetan refugees, you know, how they react. I'm talking about the ones who came out of Tibet in like 59, who had been exposed to these teachings their whole life without the Chinese interfering. Yeah, they had integrated these views and attitudes into their life, and they came out. It's not that they happily came out. They suffered a lot. But it's not that they, like the Palestinians, I understand the Palestinians also, who sit there with their key of their old house, who doesn't even stand anymore, who sit there full of anger and say, we are going to throw these Jews out of the country and I get my house back, although the house doesn't exist anymore. He still has the key, and they're full of anger, and then you see what happens. Yeah. Whereas the Tibetans, again, not everybody, but in general, the way they just continued with their life wherever they are, under very difficult conditions in South India, because they were not used to that kind of climate. Many died because of the climate and the rotten food that they had to eat, and doing labor, like for the Indians, they had to build roads and stuff. But still, not hating the Indians or the Chinese or whatever. And when you talk to people who have been tortured in Chinese prisons, again, the ones I knew, like Rinpoche and other monks or nuns or lamas or Tibetans who had been, what amazed me that there was no hate against the Chinese. Just, happened. It's not good what happened, but it happened. And even in a very natural way, like Garchen Rinpoche, when he came to Israel, he said, hi, my name is Garchen, and I was in the Chinese gulag or prison for like 20 years, and they tortured me, but they helped me to exhaust my negative karma. So for us, this sounds a bit perverse, as if we allow people to kind of torture us, become doormats for their whatever, but it's not like this. This you start to think once it has happened and you can't change anything. In order to be able to, you can say, well, it makes them feel better. Yeah, it makes them feel better, and it really works. Or when you see, natural disasters in Japan or other places where they have Buddha, they accept it and they continue. They're not blaming and just sitting there and getting angry. Yeah. So this whole thing about, is it a bad karma? Is it a good karma? Is like, I don't know. Is it, whatever looks like bad at the beginning, then something really good comes out of it. Because when they practice like this, what they practice, like negative karma gets exhausted. On top of it, they practice patience, not getting upset, being able to bear. Patience is being able to bear quietly the unbearable. So if we want to be peaceful at the time of death, we need to practice patience. And patience we can only practice when we have difficult situations, when we start to see how we react, and instead of running out and reacting and changing something, to first settle with the situation, first to make sure that we are calm, and then say something or then do something. But first, learning to bear courageously bearing the negatives or the difficult situation. Then we are trained. Then the training becomes useful. Just a wish to have a peaceful mind, this is not going to work. But to see again, to really observe when somebody, you have a private parking spot, you come home tired, you want to go and have your shower and go to bed or do whatever, or something, and a car is standing in your spot. It's the end of the world. Because you already had plans. Yeah? It's just a parking spot. Or when somebody, simple stuff, the way we react when you say, this is mine. Because everything we call mine at the time of death will be taken away from you. So when you're on the train and you sit, the moment you sit down, it becomes your seat. And so you need to go to the toilet, and maybe you put your bag on the seat to show to everybody else, this is my seat. You come back from the toilet, the bag is up there, and somebody's sitting on your seat. How do you react?
Upset.
Yeah. Because you have decided that this is my seat. How? Did you buy it? Did you buy the train?
Printed on my ticket.
Yeah, if you have a number, you can say, okay, but here in Switzerland, luckily, we don't have these reserved seats. Of course, that, like, also, people in Germany behave totally differently in the trains than here, because all the seats are reserved. So you look and these are here, you just sit down, you don't care, you don't. See, and it's much easier actually if there's no reserved seats. Yeah, because then when the system is not working anymore, then it becomes really complicated. Yeah. So somebody can claim, excuse me, this is my seat, even though the one over there is free. I mean, and then you have to change. ridiculous. But to see then when you react in that way, to imagine situations like this, and then to learn to let go. Okay, I give it up. Oh, wonderful, somebody's sitting in my seat. He was probably standing before. Yeah. Nothing is mine. If it would be really mine, we could take it with us. But we can't even take the body with us. Yeah. So this whole, the more you call it mine, the more you suffer, the more there is fear of loss. The more you see it as just being on loan, and then you use it while you use it. So it's quite okay. Yeah. So life is the time to practice to be peaceful, not to wait until death comes. And for that you need difficult situations. So then you can say the ripening of negative karma of giving me a difficult situation is actually a good thing. Yeah. Okay. So organ. You asked about euthanasia exit. Yeah. Maybe first because you said I want to donate my organs. If you want to donate your organs, it's good if you have some card in your wallet. Because that is something that you can arrange already now. Even your old, they say the eyes, if the eyes are still okay, they can use the retina. Otherwise, the organs are pretty much like, But it's a very, very good act of generosity. But if you have a master, ask him what to do. Because you might be so advanced and you might be so good at meditating on these death absorptions that he says no. It's more than if he knows you, if he has given you instructions, or like when you say you go to these death seminars and some master, some lama recognizes that you have great chance to really make big advance in that death process, they would say, no, don't let anybody disturb it, because it's more beneficial that you make advances on this path than somebody else living another few years with your organs. So.
Do you know if they take the organs before the moment of death, or is it shortly after the moment of death? Because I know somebody who doesn't want to donate because they believe they take the organs shortly before death. So it would be a very disturbing thing for the death process.
Now this is what I wanted to come to. Exactly when they take it, for sure they're not waiting. But the mind is, you see, the mind is hovering with the body. The mind doesn't want to leave. And they say when you're dead, you don't understand you're dead. This is why also there is a prayer where you give instructions to the bardo beings to say, look, you can't see your shadow, you don't see sun or moon. It's a sign that you are dead. Your mind is going from here to there, whizzing around. It is a sign that you are dead. You are dead now. Yeah. So it could be that the mind is desperately trying to re-enter the body, and then you see it that it's kind of cut apart. So you have to make your mind familiar that at one point when you are dead, somebody will come, cut your body open and take the organs. And when you're familiar with that, you go, fantastic. I might have lived another 2-3 hours, so what? Yeah. But if these organs still are of benefit to somebody, how wonderful I can give them. Okay? Then it becomes, so you're not going, hey. Yeah. But again, it's not as gross as that, as I'm saying. It's not so conscious as I'm just describing it. Okay. Yeah. So this is why, if you do have a master who knows you and you're doing tantric practices, I would say it's good to ask what he or she thinks. I'm not a master. I don't know. For me, people have to make their own decision. I know that I'm not that advanced, and people can cut me open when I die. That's okay.
They speak about Hirntod.
About?
Only after the Hirntod will they open the body.
Yeah, okay, but then is it really dead? Is it not dead? Is it, also they say, like, even if death has occurred, now they see with science, if death has occurred, there's like this brain activity still, even if you declare death, it's like, they say it's like a tsunami, it's a huge wave, which then everything shuts down. But when you look at the death absorptions, you're not there anymore. Your mind has absorbed, your senses have gone, so you're not feeling anything, that's for sure. And your mind has absorbed into more subtle levels, so that's okay.
Yeah, I'm a bit torn on it. It seems nice. It's a nice idea. I'd like to donate organs, but on the other hand, I don't really want to disturb the death process. So.
Yeah, but you know, the death process, I think if it will be helpful if you know what's going, if you're very trained, if you know what's going on, you can meditate on it almost consciously. So for that, you need to be really, really advanced. Just listening to what is happening once or twice is not going. But then this is when you do tantric practices. This you do a few times a day, and you do these absorptions, and you practice. Yeah.
So what about exit? Because that's the bit.
What about exit? Again, I don't know. There's nothing in the scriptures about this, so we can't rely on these things, huh?
If the first precept says not to kill,
Yeah.
then doesn't that also apply?
Okay.
To you?
The precept, okay, karma. In the precept, what makes the action positive or negative? It's 4 things, not just the action. There's 3 other things that are very important when you do an action to make it negative.
You have to come to the karma module.
Huh?
You have to come to the karma module.
Yeah, it comes in. Okay, so I'm not telling them.
No, I think
I'm not telling you. I'm sure you know. It's your intention, your mind state, the conditions. You know, karma is not such a kind of a prefabricated list and this is what you do, okay? So, but I think what is important to know about exit, okay? If you die with exit, let's say you're in a hospital, you have to go home to die at home. There's few hospitals where they allow you to drink that thing in the hospital. So that means in your last few days, you have to leave where you were and you have to go home. That's one thing. The other thing is the people who accompany you, they're volunteers, they're not professionals. So you might have somebody who is really well equipped with compassion and patience and all this. You might have somebody who is just doing it, but I don't know why they're doing it. So before you know, it's not as easy as one thinks. This is just what I wanted to say. So that's that. So that is assisted suicide, it's called, yeah. Then there's euthanasia, and I can't remember, it's like there's different categories in this. Like also when you're in...
Thing?
Huh?
I thought it was the same thing, exit and euthanasia.
Exit
was just how you
no,
it here.
Exit is assisted suicide, it's called.
Oh, okay. No, I meant euthanasia.
No, euthanasia is when you are when you're in hospital, I think, and you are not giving life support anymore in a way, although you could get better or something like that. But I'm not quite sure, I have to look it up. There's like 4 categories there. You know, one is kind of not really euthanasia, but it also goes in there when genau, you stop the life prolonging things.
Okay, I see. That's euthanasia. Oh, I understand. Okay, but what about like if you say, okay, if I'm diagnosed with Alzheimer's,
right,
then I want to be
go before.
Yeah, what is that called?
Okay. I give you Dr. Rinpoche's answer to that because that is more safe than my own personal answer. Because we asked him that question when he was teaching on death and dying in Geneva, and we thought we were very smart, you know, because he said like exit is suicide. This is what it is. Though that was many years ago, and I have to say the lamas are also changing their opinion a little bit about the whole thing.
That's good.
Huh?
That's good.
Good, not good, we don't know. Anyway, so, huh?
They just change what's suitable for the time.
Yeah, exactly. They adapt.
Yeah.
They adapt. The same as with homosexuality and all this. They start to adapt. That's what Buddhism wants, that you adapt. So, I asked him, I said, okay, like say you're a very good tantric practitioner and you are really good at doing these exercises. You can stay in the clear light when you meditate on this, but then you're diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And what if you then go to exit? Is it still suicide? Is it still negative? So I said, okay, if you know where you're going to be reborn so that you're sure you have a human life again and you can continue with the practice, then no problem. And he said, but if you have that knowledge, you will not need a substance to die because you will shoot your consciousness out. That's what they do with POA. Okay?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay.
Can you repeat?
There is a practice which is called poa,
Uh-huh.
where you can shoot your consciousness out of the body.
Okay.
But you only do it when you know that you're going to have another human rebirth where you can continue with the practice.
Okay.
Because we don't know, even with exit, you don't know where you're going to end up.
Uh-huh.
Will you be able to continue with the practice? If you're reborn somewhere where you can't practice, then better to stay a few more, whatever, weeks, days, months, and to continue to exhaust your negative karma.
Even with Alzheimer's.
Even with Alzheimer's.
You can't practice with Alzheimer's.
But by itself, you are exhausting negative karma. That's how karma works.
All right.
By enduring the suffering. This is this is a consequence of a negative action. Then that seed is gone.
I see.
Yeah, this is how karma exhausts itself like this, naturally, or again we have karma, naturally, or it exhausts itself by purifying. We'll do it. How you do that, we do in the module. Yeah.
So
like
basically, the answer is that it's not good.
Wait. Not finished. That's what he said. If you know that you're going to have, if you're sure you will just continue with the path, and some people can do that, I mean, I think it was Geshe Senge, he's a Mongolian Lama, and his body was really finished. I mean, pee-pee in his pants, he couldn't hear. His attendant was kind of shouting at him when he said something. But he was teaching, his mind was fully there. He was teaching without text and all this, but the body was finished. And he said, my body is just like a hand with half a finger, he said. 2 weeks later, he was dead. Yeah, so there are beings who can do that, but they are very, very, very highly realized, which I know I'm not. That's one thing. So for them, it's okay to go and find a new body where they can again work better with a new body, because an old body is very limiting.
Did Thupten die in this way, that he shot his mind out of his body? Did Thupten, you spoke yesterday.
Thupten Rinpoche. I don't know what he did. They don't say.
7 days his body was.
Did you find it on the YouTube?
No.
Nina
Okay.
has sent it to the group.
Did you find it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what he did. I mean, did he do poa? Did he do what? Did he do? I don't know. So he said, okay. Then he says, if you are a spiritual practitioner, you would understand that you're exhausting negative karma, so you wouldn't want to die before it is your time to die a natural death. Then he said, if you don't have a spiritual practice, he said, then I don't know, people have to decide themselves. Because you can also create a lot of negative karma when you're just sick and you abuse everybody and you're kind of very angry at everybody and you make them suffer and all this. So maybe it's better that you go before you create a lot of
Right.
Huh?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. So, but just be aware, exit is not as easy as one thinks, especially when you're in hospital, because you have to go home. And that can be very disturbing. Also, exit is quite disturbing for the people around you. I've seen it. Like it's the same thing when you have a pet and you go to the vet to give it the injection. You don't feel the same way as when the pet dies in a natural death. When there's a natural death, you feel relieved. When it's the injection, you feel guilty on a certain level.
Depends. When the pet is sick, I had a pet who had cancer and she just couldn't, it was a relief,
That's what we think. It's a relief for us.
But she was suffering.
I could see. Look, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying what I see when there's the difference between natural death and the difference between injection. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying that. You have to make these decisions. It's your responsibility. This is also, Buddhism is not like a handbook where you say, okay, this situation, then you do this. Not like that. Yeah. It always depends on your motivation. Is it because I can't bear the suffering anymore, or is it whatever? Yeah. Like Venerable Rubina, she says it's like, we don't know, because the pet also, she's suffering. But then she's taking that negative karma with her in her next life. Here she would have the opportunity to finish it. Painkillers is fine. Painkillers is okay. Yeah. So we don't know. We really don't know. Is it? We assume it's good for the dog or for the cat because it makes us feel better. Yeah. But also, it's like with pets, it's like there's no health insurance, so you have to. Yeah.
That's the other thing.
So you have to pay yourself.
Yeah.
So do you want to invest in a sick pet that's going to die anyway? It's big questions.
There's health insurance.
Huh?
There's pet health insurance.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, but
Comes in very handy.
At that point, definitely. But for most of the people also, it's because it's too expensive. Like the treatment becomes too expensive when they don't have health insurance, and then that's the motivation. So, or part of you're not cruel people. It's part of the motivation. I think Venerable Rubina gives this example. Somebody has a headache, and you want to relieve the person from that headache, big headache, or broken arm. It's like really big pain, and you have two pills, and one is cyanide, and the other one is the painkiller, but you don't know which is which. Would you take the chance, because you want to relieve the pain of the other person, would you take the chance and say to the person, okay, I don't know which one, try this one? Yeah. You wouldn't want to make the decision for that person to finish just in order for their pain to finish, okay? But as I'm saying, I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad. This whole thing about exit, I make dedication or I make prayers sometimes. May I never need to take such a decision, whether to call exit or not. May I be able to die a natural death. I have the courage to endure that when the time of death is finished, time of life is finished, that then I will go. Not before, but I don't know, because I'm really chicken when it comes to pain. But they say pain management is quite okay these days. So I don't know. You see, also it's like I have a friend of mine. Her sister had ALS. Yeah, it's when the muscles all go. And when she got the diagnosis, then both of them are not doing any spiritual practices. But she's my friend. I work together in the sports shop. So. So she called me and says, Therese has this, and I'm sure you're not happy to hear what I have to say. So I said, no, I don't know. What do you have to say? And she said, well, she kind of registered with exit. I said, well, it's not for me to say this is good or bad. This is your decision. And so the way it developed, now again, first it sounded as if I talk against exit. Here I'm talking for exit, because the way it developed, she really knew. She was able to arrange everything. She had 4 dogs. 3 had already died, and one was very old and very difficult to keep, and he was very grumpy and he would bite. So she kind of put him to death the day before she died. So, and she had she could say what she wanted. My ashes go there. And the ashes of my dogs also go there. And I want this person to have this, and I want that person to have that, and that. So it was very peaceful. And she was suffering a lot because, you can't breathe anymore. So she said, before I have to go on the tube, I want to go. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. It's not for me to make these decisions. Yeah. For her sister, I think it's okay. Because she accompanied her until there. But also, you're at home, the police comes, because the police has to be present. It's very embarrassing for the policeman to be there. He's not relaxed. He apologizes, and because they have to see that you are drinking the potion yourself.
Sounds like really, if you're a spiritual person, unless you're that advanced to shoot your spirit into another body, then it's negative because you don't burn that karma. That's kind of
I don't want to use the word negative. That you're not taking it you're not considering it very easily, let's say. Yeah.
But I think it depends on the state of awareness or I don't know how advanced you are on the path, because maybe it would be worse to suffer and then you generate more negative thoughts and die in a terrible way. So maybe I think we can't say it's good or bad. It's really the person who can say this is my choice because because there are cases where it's really the good. It's really, it depends. You can't take the fact that you have Alzheimer. But maybe there are people who are like, yeah, I'm experiencing Alzheimer, and we don't know. I don't know how it is to have Alzheimer, and maybe it's not a bad thing. It just seems from there because.
Yeah, because we want to be on control and we lose control. So, and also it's this. I think a big part of wanting to go with exit is that you don't want to be a burden to others.
Exactly.
But maybe they don't mind that you are a burden. Also, see, this is another thing. We prevent people from showing compassion and from creating positive karma. And as you said, it's actually quite a moving experience. It's very difficult. It's not easy to accompany somebody to their death, but it can be very moving also. Yeah, and it feels like, especially if it's your parents, it kind of feels the right thing to do when you are aware of how much they've done for you. Yeah. So again, there's a lot of maybes there. So maybe also we don't, because when you're dying Alzheimer's, you lose your dignity, and this is why one of these organizations is called Dignitas, because you go out of life with dignity. But who says we have to go out of life with dignity? I think you need much more courage not to be dignified anymore and still be around. Yeah, and if you can bear that, to lose your wits and all that, and you can bear that with a peaceful mind, I think that's a big step of advantage, or advancing on the spiritual path. I think if you can bear your state. There was this nun in Austria, and she's done very difficult work with body jobs. So her body was totally finished, and she had a lot of pains in her body, and she could hardly move. She could hardly walk. So she just decided to do Tonglen. So when she said, when I'm awake at night, I can't sleep, I just do Tonglen. She was such a wonderful person, and people already, all of a sudden, they came to talk to her. They came to visit her, ask her for advice and stuff. Yeah. You see, when you are suffering, you become an object of compassion for others. If nobody suffers, how are we going to develop compassion? But this is the society, in the rich part of the world. This is the perfect society that we want to have. Nobody suffers, and so then, before the suffering shows, we kill them. It's a bit like that.
There's another aspect that I'd like to share, and that is my friend. She's my age. Her father had prostate cancer, and he said he wants to leave with exit. And now comes the power, the aspect of having power. He had power.
Yeah.
He said, I want to die now, and I want the whole family to be around me, to join me. So she had to come, her brother and sister had to come, and his wife. And then, of course, there were the doctor, the psychologist, and then someone from the official.
Yeah.
And she said, he celebrated it. And it was terrible.
It was terrible.
Terrible. He celebrated his
power.
Yeah, a banker. He was a banker.
It's okay, don't worry.
He looked poor. UBS. UBS, not Julius.
Different bank, it's okay.
So it was a terrible experience for her.
She really suffered for years. So the moment of power, he really, that is a macho patriarchal figure.
So you go with that attitude. So you take that attitude with you. Whereas all the, the arrogance about how you look and how much in control you are when it falls apart, and you can bear it peacefully, and you can open up, and you become soft and grateful for people who look after you. This is what I'm saying. This is the spiritual progress. Yeah. But again, it's like, you can't say good, you can't say bad. It depends on a lot of things.
There's a clear message I've heard from you that overall, it's not necessarily a good thing unless it's under very exceptional circumstances. And that's what I'm hearing.
No, not even that. I don't know. It's better you hear, I don't know. It can be this and it can be that. So it's like, personally, I would like not to go with exit. Because, as I'm saying, as you suffer, you are exhausting negative karma. So I hope I'll be able to bear it, and I hope I'm not going to become a nuisance for too many people. I don't know. Also, we don't have to be so afraid of death because we all did it many, many times already. So it's like, and everybody succeeds. That's the one where you can say, this one, for sure, I will succeed at one point. I don't need help. This nature will take care of itself. But yeah, it's the thing when the possibility is there and it's legal. Because now it's also, I think in Switzerland, exit is only when you have a sickness that cannot be cured. But I don't know, maybe in Holland, it's also when you're just old. Because Alzheimer's, I think, is not enough. Here, in Switzerland, yeah.
Oh, really?
You need
have to be conscious in your
No,
mind.
but you can sign up before.
No, you can't.
How do you know that you have Alzheimer's?
No, you cannot.
If I have, can you say if I get
No,
Alzheimer's?
you cannot.
Oh, you cannot do
Investigate
that.
No,
you have to
cannot.
say it after you've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Right, you have to
Yeah.
be clear in your mind, and then it can be done. But you cannot be gaga.
Okay.
You cannot be.
No, but you cannot say while
No.
you're clear. If I get
No.
diagnosis.
You cannot.
no. When you drink the thing, you have to be clear in your mind.
Totally clear.
When you drink
Yes.
the thing, you
No
can.
Yeah,
one
this
will
is-
give it to you.
No one. You have to be totally
Make
clear
your
in your
own
brain.
decision.
So this is why I'm saying it's not as simple and easy as it looks.
But
So-
still, there are many, many people who make use of it.
Yeah.
I know many.
Really?
And yeah, 6.
Mm-hmm.
Even tourists.
Yeah. Like it's a big
Right,
test.
It's a-
Tourism. When somebody's sick and say, I'm going to Switzerland, and when you watch a movie or something, then you know, okay, they're going to do exit. So it's like, yeah. So, but I don't know. Okay, so if somebody, let's see, if somebody is in the process of dying or if somebody has died, what to do? So there is this called liberation box. Do you have one or not? Huh?
Yes.
You have one at home, or is it here?
Very empty.
Very empty.
Oh, no, it's not very full. So yes.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be very full. So there is, from the FPMT, what Lama Zopa said it's good to have in the center is called liberation box. This is something when the person has died, it will help them for, or in the bardo, in the intermediate state, for a good rebirth. And what it has in there is a poa pill. It's a pill which is specially blessed, and then you put that pill, or you glue the pill like on their crown, and then before they go into the coffin, then you rip it off. So that means then, the mind will be, it says, again, if it's really happening, it sounds a bit like hocus pocus, I do admit. Like, because the pill is blessed in that way that it draws the mind, the subtle mind, like this clear light mind, it draws it upwards, and then it comes out of the body here on top of the crown, top of the head. You don't see anything, of course. And that would be a good thing for a good rebirth, okay? So this is why also they say it depends a bit where the consciousness, which is not material, where it leaves the body. So that's why when somebody has died, try not to touch their feet, because same as now, when we touch the body, then the consciousness goes there. Okay? So try when somebody has died, either tap them here or pull the hair if they have hair, so that the consciousness comes up. Very often the first thing that one does is closing eyes and closing mouth, because when people die, then you should very often exactly go like this, eyes open and mouth drop open, and that seems to be a terrible thing. In the hospice I was when I was in California, we left them the way they are. We didn't touch them, and we started doing prayers for them, sitting there and doing prayers. So the prayers you can do is like Medicine Buddha Puja, which you can learn to do it here, because they do once a month or something. Yeah, actually today would be Medicine Buddha Day, it's full moon, so it's a very good. So you learn how to do that, just reciting the names of the Buddhas, and maybe visualizing how the consciousness of the person kind of comes up and then goes into the heart of the Medicine Buddha, and you see the person being reborn in a beautiful place or something like that. These are very, very helpful meditations you can do when somebody has died. It doesn't have to be so Buddhist, it can be anything else that you feel familiar, you feel comfortable with, that in your heart you see them somewhere dissolve into light and being reborn in a very beautiful place, for example. Yeah, because we have a connection with these people, and that subtle mind in the bardo who is confused, it can make not contact the way we make contact, but like for example the contact to my teacher, to my guru. If I would be confused and I didn't know what to do, I would pray. And it's not that he appeared in my dream and said, did la 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 la, but all of a sudden I would know what to do. This kind of contact, you know. You can say, oh, you could have known what to do without him. Yeah, true, but it was quite amazing how often it happened that something like, all of a sudden I was sure, okay, I want to do that. So whatever thoughts you have about the deceased person, let these thoughts be positive. Tell them to go towards the light and these kind of things.
I held my mother's hand.
Okay.
And now I have the feeling that would have, when you're talking about the touching, not the feet.
It's okay. That's all right. That's right. It's very good about, you know, a dying person holding her hand, touching them, not holding their hand. If you're sitting there and your heart is open, you will feel what will help them. Because sometimes holding somebody's hand might be beneficial, but they have to go. So we don't know. Okay, you see this like being at the airport and somebody has to leave and you're not letting go of their hand. You know, it's this whole thing also, you already are through customs, you're hurting because you're leaving and you look back 2 or 3 times and it hurts even more. This is when Jeff said, you know, dying alone is like when I really like to be in a place and I really like the person and I have to leave, what I prefer is I get up very early in the morning, they're still sleeping, I go, in no pain. When we have to say goodbye and we have to hug and we cry, there's a lot of pain. Okay, 5 minutes later the pain is finished, that's true. But while I'm still there and holding them and hugging them, there is pain and I cry. So again, but don't worry, whatever you've done is fine because you've done it with a good heart, and maybe it was very good for your mother that you held her hand to be very peaceful.
You are going, that's okay, and I will take care, and
yeah,
go in peace.
That's very good. Thank you, Mom, and
you
know, don't worry, everything is taken care of, and thank you, and these kind of things, and it's okay to go now. It's fine. Yeah. Sometimes we need to encourage them a little bit, especially telling them, don't worry, everything is fine. And thank you so much for having made this, you know, stretch of path with me. Okay, so in that liberation box, you have this Poa pill that you can use. You can, you know, the one we have in Bern, you can borrow it. You can you can come and get it, and you can use the things. Then there's also a mantra in there.
A few times.
Yeah. So please don't let it go into the coffin, because they're very rare, these pills. Because there's a lot of blessings that go into there.
Who blesses it?
Huh?
Who blesses this?
Monks, nuns, masters.
Always again?
No, it's okay. Once it's a Poa, and it has special substances and stuff inside, and call it Poa pill. What is? Yeah, if you don't find it, it's kind of okay.
It's here now.
It's kind of brown, isn't it? What is also in there, and this I can give you because I have a few copies here. These are 12 sets of little mantras. So you cut them out, so you have like just one. And this can go with the script down onto the heart chakra. That also says it's like 5 very powerful mantras that were written by hand by Lama Zopa, which now are smaller. And then, so if you, now, you also have that in your package.
Yes.
Okay? So like, in ancient times, before we had all these things, I only had photocopies, so I always needed to have at least one left. I could make more copies. Now it's not really necessary anymore. So, and then what I do, I just cut them up, and then I always have them in my wallet with me. And then when I, for example, when I'm on the bicycle and I see a dead rat or cat or dead animal, whatever, I stop and I put that on their chest. The same thing, you know, if you see a dead fly, if you see a dead whatever insect, you hold the thing and you recite the Medicine Buddha mantra, you blow on it and you wish him or her a good rebirth. So again, you go through life very consciously and you start to see that, when I look, actually, there's a lot of dead things lying around. Death is really everywhere. And instead of just, you know, sweeping it away, you wish for that being's good rebirth. Again, you know, if I would tell this to people I went to school with, they would say like, oh my gosh, why are you going? What are you doing here? Like, I know it sounds very strange, but you see, again, these things, the Poa pill, these mantras, I don't know if it helps. But what if it, But what if it does help and I don't do it?
Doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. And it definitely helps the person who is still alive, because you feel like you're doing something.
Yes.
And then you calm down. It opens up your heart. It opens up your compassion. You want to do something for this other person. And as Jeff says, if it doesn't help, I mean, what's the harm? What is the harm? Then also these things is called stupa, like this high thing there. And there's, I think, one here, but there's also smaller ones. And then that's also, you say you put it on the crown so that the crown touches that stupa. Then you have these blessing strings and you have money pills. Also small pills that are blessed, like money pills are blessed once a year in Dharamsala. You have bagfuls of like potato bags, you know, full of these little pills, and the monks sit there for a whole week reciting mantras in order to bless these pills. Actually, you get them in these long packages when you send the name of somebody who has died, or when you go to the office of the Dalai Lama, because he does pray for the deceased. So when you know somebody has died, when I was at Tushita, we would get a message or an email, and I have the names of all these people. I would go down to the private office, make a donation in the name of the deceased person, and then the names would be given to the Dalai Lama, and you would get the blessing string, and you would get these money pills. It's too late, they're already dead, but anyway, I would send it to the people who had made the offering. And I'm sure you have money pills here, we have money pills in Bern, you can get them. It's good to put, if you still can, once they died, money pills in their mouth, or in wherever opening they have. It's the small ones, these can stay. These can go then with the deceased person. Also, if it's me, you know, and I'm dying and you give me money pills, I very, very happily will swallow them. Definitely. So, but again, it's your grandfather or your dad, and he's Catholic, and then you come with the money pills and you say, oh, they've been blessed by the Dalai Lama. It will upset him. It will definitely upset him. So start to do Catholic prayers, something that he's familiar with. Yeah, I think, you know, don't push your Buddhist knowledge on others when that's not their path, and it's not their practice. Once they're dead, you can put that thing. But again, I haven't finished. Again, listen to your heart.
Yes.
Listen to your heart, to your belly. You know, how does it feel putting this on? Is it now because I think mine is better than yours? Or listen, and sometimes it feels right, sometimes it doesn't feel right. When my brother died, because he was very much against, I had become a nun. I didn't do anything for him. I think I made an offering at his holiness office. That was it. Because I could feel that's going to disturb him. He doesn't want that. For my parents, I did a lot of stuff. You know, these rituals that you can do. But Medicine Buddha is very good. And you have it all in here. This is the good thing. Yeah, you have all these practices and prayers and mantras and whatever, you have it all in here for the Medicine Buddha Puja if you want to do that. Also, if somebody dies, for example, you can send me a message or a message here. You give the name of the person, and I sit down and do the Medicine Buddha Puja if you wish that. You can make an offering, then I buy really nice stuff like fruits and dried fruits and cookies and whatever, make a nice altar, and then sit down and do the puja if you want to come, because the best thing is if people who have been close to that person do it. So if you want to come and participate in the puja, it can be done in English, can be done in German, then we do it. Yeah, like trying to do something for the deceased person, trying to accompany them a bit further. I think it's really great because I didn't know any of these things, and doing them for my parents felt really good, even though I was in India when they died. Both of them died. My mom, I didn't have enough time, and my dad, I didn't know. He didn't want me to come back. When I saw him for the last time, he had water in his lungs. He was 85. And when I saw him for the last time, before, when I was there visiting, he said, I really want to die. And I said, yeah. And he got upset and he said, I really mean it. I said, yeah, me too. If you want to go, it's fine. And so I kind of, when I left, when I said goodbye, I kind of knew I wouldn't see him alive again. But still then, that time there were still faxes. When the fax came, I was totally devastated because I really had, I didn't notice, I didn't know I had so much attachment for my father, only when he was not there anymore. And I fell apart. I couldn't function anymore. For whatever reason, guilt that I was not there, but he did want to die alone. He gave everything away in his apartment, and he made his, because he didn't want to make a testament. So the material things he gave away because he knew I didn't want them. He wanted to give me sports cars. I said, what do you want me to do in Dharamsala with this very low car? I said, so I think my brother got it and he sold it, or I don't know, I can't remember. But anything, I said, it's okay. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. You can do with it whatever you want. And so he gave everything away. He made half, like what he had money, half in my bank account, half in my brother's. He didn't want my mom to have anything because he spent it all. And he said, when I'm dead, you don't need to come for my funeral because then I'm already dead and I won't see you. So it was talking about control, yeah. So I said, look, if you don't mind, I'll make that decision. Yeah, but he died so quickly, I couldn't come. He was 85. He called the taxi in the morning after, separating everything for a few weeks. Maybe he had done this. I knew he had done this, that he had made, with the money, because he told me when I called him. And he called the taxi on Saturday morning. Sunday morning, he didn't wake up in hospital. He had made a very, very clear decision. That's it, I'm going. I have enough. Because he did say, we talked about it at lunch, if I have to go to a home, I kill myself. Because he could not bear when other people would tell him what to do. He could not bear it.
Right.
He really couldn't bear it.
Altegarde.
Huh?
Altegarde.
Altegarde, exactly. It's like going to prison, going to a home. So then he died very peacefully. My mom, because as I said, she liked to spend the money that my dad had earned. So they lived separately, but they were not divorced. So then she left when there was nothing left. we found a list that she had made where she was calculating how long it would last.
Wow.
Yeah, so she died when was 8,000 left. And so this is what I said. Then we divided it into 4. I would have gotten 4,000, but there was my sister-in-law, because my brother had already died. My sister-in-law, the 2 nieces I have, and me. So I would have gotten half of it, but said, come on, let's just do it 4. But you see, this is the thing now. Money is such a stupid thing, because I'm not sure if it would have been 1 million, would have given 250,000 that I don't have to give to the nieces, to the sister-in-law, because by law she doesn't get anything. I hope so, but I'm not even sure, to be honest. 2,000, yeah, no problem.
If she has children.
Huh?
If they have children,
Yeah.
the children will get it.
Yeah, no, but I know. But you see, by law, it was 8,000. By law, I would have gotten 4,000 and the 2 children 2,000. Okay? So if it's 1 million, by law, I would have gotten 500,000 and the children each 250,000. Would I have given half of my 500,000 to my sister-in-law?
Probably not.
Probably not.
You would have given it to the temple in Dharamsala, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So this is why, if there's a lot of money, the more money there is, the more greedy we get.
Well, it's not greedy. It's, in this case, it wouldn't be greedy. It would be just you make her wiser. The more thought decision. Your decision would be more carefully considered. If you rather give that money to Dharamsala or to an orphanage.
Why? My sister-in-law is a widow. She doesn't have much money. She could have.
But she doesn't need 250.
Not sure.
Well,
Who am I to decide whether she needs it or not?
You could have split it, 100,000 for her, something like that.
Yeah.
That's exactly the
But
point.
you don't get the point. Exactly. She got the point.
Yeah.
Johanna got the point. This is what I'm saying.
The more money, the more you have to. Yeah,
The more money, the more
energy
difficult it becomes to give it. And this is the ridiculous thing about money. You know, the more money there is, the more you have lawyers and fights and this and that. So it's strange, but that's the way it is.
Look at the president.
Huh? Yeah.
You what, sorry?
Look at the president
Which president?
Yeah, which
of the
one?
US.
Which one?
The struggles he has.
Yeah. So coming back to these things, I don't know if it helps, but it helps the person who does it. So if you want, you're very welcome to take one sheet, so you have them already, or you have on your computer. You can just print it out. You cut them out.
Is it written in English? No, it's written in Tibetan.
It's written in Tibetan, but even if you know Tibetan, it will be hard to read. You don't need to be able to read it. Yeah, it's like the power of the mantra itself is going to do the job. So that's a nice thing.
Mustn't we know what it says?
No.
In
Why?
The text, I think will be
It's in English.
Why do you
I
need
just
to?
have to believe blindly.
Yeah. You know, the Buddhas who are then supposed to come when these mantras are there, they know what it says.
Okay, but perhaps by mistake they have exchanged the.
No, it's not, because you cannot, because it's very typical for these. It's like that's it. And anyway, there's no mantras that would kind of prevent a good rebirth or provoke a bad rebirth or something like that. But yeah, you can know what it means. It's in the book. Or they used to be, but also I saw that it was too complicated for the people.
But it's also I'm inquisitive to know how do you formulate thoughts and the words for such an occasion?
This is what it means written phonetically. So if you want, you can recite it. And I had made every time, like we did a course like this, so I made copies of this, I made copies of this. I saw people only took this because it was too long for them. Yeah. So if you're not a Buddhist and you're not really practicing, you're not going to sit down once a loved one has died and recite these long mantras. You recite Om Mani Padme Hum. That's the mantra of the Chenresik, of the Buddha of Compassion. But sure, if you want to know what it means, but you don't need to know what it means. I think this is where the trust comes in. Yeah. This is where the trust comes in. Huh?
That's where the mistrust comes from.
What?
Yeah, that I'm asking, hasn't the confusion perhaps, so I'm mistrusting if I can't control it and read it and understand it.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, understanding mantras, this is where the Westerners have problems with the rituals, would be so helpful sometimes. We need to know what it is. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, when you want to, these things work on a very, very subtle level, which we don't understand conceptually. But then when you start to want to take them up into your conceptual mind, they lose their power because they're not subtle enough anymore. So instead of just doing it and then allowing the mind to go into a more subtle state where you will understand what it is, but not with concepts, we take it up into the conceptual state and then it's not working. Yeah. I mean, you know, when in Mexico, so many miracles happen in Mexico. People go to this, you know, in the Virgin of Guadalupe. They go to this, the Virgin with the green cloak there, and so many people get cured. Why? Because they trust. They trust that there are miracles. They're not close to these very subtle energies. We Westerners, you know, very kind of educated and very clever and very, oh, I need to know what this is. It doesn't work for us. Why? Because we're not open.
Placebo. Placebo.
Yeah, okay. Oh, placebo is a very good thing. You see, Buddhism is like a placebo. Because nothing comes from there. Everything comes from your mind. Okay? And now the difference between a placebo and Buddhism is the more you know that it's a placebo for Buddhism, the better it works. Because you know that placebo works. And you know that the placebo is empty of real medicine. But you know that it still works. And then you have understood emptiness.
Thank you.
You know,
it
would be interesting to make research to give people a real pill and tell them it's placebo. Because they only do it the other way around. They give them a placebo and tell them it's the real pill, it's the real medicine. But it would be interesting to do research the other way around. It is medicine, but they tell them that it's a placebo, because then they don't want to do these researches. Why? Because they can't sell their stuff anymore, because they you know, it's yeah.
Of course.
So it's a bit like that. So yeah, Buddhism is like a placebo, and the more you understand it's like a placebo, the closer you are to reality. The thing is that everything comes from your mind. But you're not believing blindly, okay? Maybe with the belief and with the trust, okay? There's certain things we cannot understand. Rebirth, we don't have direct access to it. Karma, we don't have direct access to it, okay? So we're not kind of trying to understand this with our conceptual mind, as much as we can, okay? But not too deep. Whereas there is suffering, this we can understand. The causes of suffering, our negative emotions and wrong views, this we can understand. So when you look at the teachings of the Buddhas that you can understand with conceptual thinking, then you start to trust that also these other things that he says, but you can't understand, are also valid. I'm not even saying true, I'm saying valid. Now, I really like that statement by Nagarjuna when he says, whatever leads to happiness is truth. Is true. Because really true, again, the 6 and the 9. Is it a true 6? Is it a true 9? It's neither. It depends from where you look. And everything is like this. Everything depends how you look at it. And it is our mind who is creating samsara and nirvana and liberation. Nothing else. This is why it says in the sutra, don't look elsewhere. It is in your mind. But we take the outside Buddha as a support. We take these methods as a help to remind us of our Buddha nature, of our Buddha potential. Okay, so what else do I need to say here? When do you see that a person is dead? That the person is dead when the consciousness has gone, when the consciousness has left. You can see it when the eyes are still open and it starts to get a bit opaque. Like buying fish. That's the sign that there's 2 signs with fish. When you lift up here and this thing in here, I don't know what they're called in English, are still red.
Gills.
That means
Gills.
That means the fish is fresh. Meaning it hasn't started to decay. Meaning kind of the subtle consciousness is still there. No, it's not moving anymore. It's only the subtle consciousness. Eyes, when they start to get opaque, you're not buying them anymore, or you throw them away. You shouldn't eat them anymore because the decaying process has started. It means when the decaying starts, that means that the subtle consciousness has gone. But even though if the subtle consciousness of the fish is still there, he doesn't feel anything. Okay, because the senses have absorbed. You remember from yesterday. Okay, better not to buy any fish and not to eat any fish. Then you're sure not to. So it's the same thing when you want to see if somebody's really dead, meaning you can call the people who come and take them. If you want to leave them, for the time while they are doing these meditations here, if you want to make sure now I can call so that they come get the body. You can touch here a little bit. If it's still warm, means the consciousness is still in the body. If the eyes are still clear, means that the subtle consciousness, it's not your consciousness. It's not the consciousness that we are used to. It's the subtle consciousness. It's just a clear light, who's not really kind of being aware of, there's no thinking, hey, I'm still here. Yeah. When the eyes are still clear, and when sometimes you see a red drop coming from the nose and a white drop coming from the sexual organ. And if you have contact with nurses, sometimes they say, yes, I saw that. And I saw it, but I saw it in a hedgehog. And then, that's the only time I saw it. Because usually we don't wait long enough with the dead people for these signs to show. So we had I was in New Zealand, we did Medicine Buddha retreat. And somebody had found or seen a dead hedgehog on the side of the road who had been probably hit by a car, but he wasn't destroyed. So she brought him, and so I said, we can say some mantras and blow on it, and then for good rebirth. And we had decided to do an animal liberation in 3 days. So I said, why don't we just leave it here? Who knows, this is the thing, you try anything that could be helpful, you do. You're not so much worried, how does it work and what does it do? You just do it. So I said, we leave it here. And so maybe, who knows? Maybe he hears the mantras we're reciting, or he sees the Buddha. I don't know. So we left him there, and it looked quite cute, because I put him in an empty ice cream dish, because, dead bodies leak. And I didn't want to leave it on the altar, and so he was actually sitting in there like this. With naturally he had this kind of pose. He had like this. So I folded one of these mantras and I put it here. It looked as if he's holding that thing, and I said we're going to cover him with a tissue, because the flies in New Zealand, they make maggots very, very quickly. So I covered him with the white tissue, and after 3 days I took him from the altar to go with the animal liberation to do these kind of mantras, and then to bury him. And then through the tissue it was like bright red, like fresh blood. But appeared. I went like, wow, it's true. Because you see, me also, I don't have 100% trust. I also need signs. I like Thomas, or who was it? Who, the ungläubige Stefan or Thomas, or who was it? Who needed signs. Or like in the Bible, you have a lot of these, like Moses challenging God that they want signs, because and God says, no, you have to believe like this. But here's not blind belief, because you do. The things that you can see are true. And also because it's an experience vehicle, then if you apply these methods, then you see that they work. This is where the trust comes from. But then whether there is rebirth or not, this we will know when we're fully awakened. Before, I don't know. So again, what we did yesterday, if you have a problem with rebirth, what's the benefit of believing in rebirth? Because it's just a belief for us. We don't know. What is the disadvantage of believing in rebirth? What is the benefit of not believing in rebirth? What is the disadvantage of not believing in rebirth? Then whatever you find, if you are kind of 50-50 or you don't know, then whatever you find is more helpful, which view is more helpful, you adapt that. But we always want to know very clearly, but then with these things that we can't have signs or proofs, we're very vague. With, I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. But it determines how we act. Yeah? So it's good you become not clear about it. Not, there is or there is not, but what do I believe? What do I believe happens at the moment of death? Instead of just, believing what is said here. Again, how do I want to die? How do I not want to die? What can I do now? Whether dying in an accident, there's nothing we can do now. Yeah. Dying hospital at home, there's not much we can do. But dying with a peaceful mind, this we can practice. Yeah. And slowly, as you continue to do that, slowly you start to see what you can do, and then you're doing what you can do, actually. And the things that you have no control over, slowly you're letting go. Do you have questions there?
My whole family, black family, atheist. No one.
So I put them here, and if you want some, you can take. Huh?
The whole black family, atheist. No, they don't believe in
Okay.
Jesus or no religions, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt, her whole life she was blind.
Mm-hmm.
She died 2 years ago
Mm-hmm.
with 4 people around her. Those 4 people who were also taking care of her. She was
Mm-hmm.
she died. And she later, I wasn't there at that moment. She lay there and she said, very conscious, she was until the last moment,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, how do you die? How do you die?
Mm-hmm.
I'm dying, but how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
No one told me, no one showed me, no one spoke with no one about it. And she was really...
There's also, if you want, the printed, I like the meaning. Not the meaning, but the sound.
And
If you want.
Said, and what's going to happen afterwards, after I die? So that's the first time thinking of this. And she's blind, and then she said, please, every one of you must tell me what they think will happen after life. So the one was Catholic, the other was Protestant, what you are in Holland. And they said, well, afterlife. And then one person said nothing because she had no belief. There are many in Holland that believe in nothing.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say, but she knew that there were so and so many people, and only those on. Said, you, Margriet, you haven't said anything. Said, well, I don't dare to say it. And they said, well, come on, say it. She said, I think there'll be nothing. And then she said, well, I'll come back and tell you, and then I'll go. And she died. So very humoristic. And in the last moment, she was thinking about these things, which, I mean, of course, we always think about it, but seriously, she was only thinking then about it. I want to know beforehand what to expect and so on. I would like to know.
Well, so these are the sounds of these mantras there. You want to know beforehand? Well, difficult. There is one of the best books I have read, I think, about, life, death, intermediate state, and then rebirth, is by Penlop Dzogchen Rinpoche, which is called Beyond Death. A very good explanation, especially, if you're energy channels, chakras, poa, all these kind of things, because they talk about 6 bardos. We're always in an intermediate state, like now we are between lunch and dinner, for example. Yeah.
Right.
We're always in between something. It's not just the bardo of dying or of death that we are living. The Geluks, usually they only talk about that bardo, but like the Kargyus, they talk a lot about what they call the 6 bardos.
What was the title of the book?
Beyond Death.
And by Rinpoche?
By Penlop Dzogchen Rinpoche.
Sorry. There was these schools. Do they still exist? These training centers in France?
I don't know. You'd have to find out when you give in Rigpa, because if it's from Sokya Rinpoche, because when you said the Book of Living and Dying, so this organization is called Rigpa. So if you'd give that in Google and
okay.
Might still be, yeah. They had also, they had like great courses in how to help, how to accompany dying people, workshops and stuff. Okay, so how about we make 10 minutes break and then we do last meditation,
Yes.
like on Tonglen,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's a very good way of dying with the Tonglen. It's the best poa actually when you let go of what you want, you let go and you only think of others. May my death not create too much suffering for others. This is a very good mind state to die with. Yeah. Whatever I did in this life which was good may be of benefit to others. So Tonglen is it's called giving and taking. Now, why it doesn't work for Westerners very often? Because somehow when you feel your breath, when you're breathing, what do you think is your in-breath the start of breathing, or is it your out-breath the start of breathing?
That's a good question. Or in between.
No. Is it the in-breath, or is it the, when you listen instinctively, is it the in-breath or is it the out-breath?
I'd say in-breath. I'll guess in-breath. I'll guess in-breath.
Yeah?
I guess neither.
Yeah, you think too much, Johanna. No, really.
That's what my banker told me.
Yeah. You think you're too much in the head. Like instinctively, when you start counting your breath, would you start counting on the in-breath or on the out-breath if you start one?
In.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay, so giving and taking is like you take the suffering of somebody else, so that means you start with taking, but it's Tonglen, it is giving and taking. And because then we take, and then we get all frightened because we think we take it upon ourselves, and we haven't noticed yet how much we have to give. So when I felt that it didn't really work for people somehow, so then I started by them just learning just to give first. Yeah, like on the out breath, you just give whatever good you have. You want to share it with others. And when you take the suffering of others, when you breathe in and think, I'm taking the suffering of others, you're not taking it to keep it, you're dissolving it. Whereas people kept it. I mean, I did it in somewhere, and on Friday evening we started, and then the woman came Saturday morning and said, I really couldn't sleep. I said, why? She said, well, I have all this black stuff. I said, well, did you breathe out? Yeah. So when it says taking, you're not taking it to keep it, you're taking it to, to take it away from the other person. So it's difficult because, again, the purpose of this practice is not that the other person feels well. The purpose of this practice is that you have the courage to do this. You have the courage to bear suffering. So it actually increases your courage. So if you are a parent and you could take away the suffering of your children, you would. Even if you would have to keep it, you would. Yeah, it would come very natural. You wouldn't think twice. So it shows us that we would be capable of doing it, but it's not about healing or making the other one feel better. It's more about increasing the courage that, okay, may you be free from that suffering. In order for you to be free, I take it away from you and I dissolve it in my Buddha nature. So that's the dissolving is very, very important. Yeah. And you work a lot with light on that meditation. And one thing is, this is one meditation where it's not about you. At the beginning we do it with ourselves, that's fine. But just for the beginning, because we have to learn to be kind to ourselves as well. But then as you continue to do it, it's like for once you are not in the limelight. It's not about you. It's about the other. It's not about, oh, wow, look at me, I'm taking your suffering. It's about, may you be free from suffering. So that's quite a relief, you know. You don't need to look, what is happening with me? Oh, is it working? Is it not working? No, it's just a matter of doing. And a lot, when it comes to these things that we can't really understand how it works, a lot of it is to letting go of the box here wants to understand and to just do it. And then make the experience how it works. And then we understand that it works. Otherwise, it's like having a very nice piece of cake here. And you say, I'm not going to taste it before I know how it tastes. That's what we're doing. I'm not going to do this before I understand how it works. Yeah. So a lot of it is like we're too complicated. We think too much. A lot of it is just, if you want to experience how Buddhism works, you just have to do it. Yeah. And especially in the tantric practice and in the pujas, this is how it works. Just sit down and do it, and then you'll know. And I had so much aversion towards these things that I didn't know what was going on. I felt these superstitious and all this and that, it's childish and all that. 2 years. I was in Tushita. I had to go to the pujas. I'm a nun. I can't say I'm not coming to the puja. And I really suffered with all this resistance. And all of a sudden, I had this thing, just do it. And it was like a dam that broke. Yeah. And I could see how much power is in there when nothing else works. Not to fix things, but to be able to stay with the unfixed things. That's what it is. That's what it's for. And not to feel so totally helpless and alone also. And to feel that, you know, the Buddha is a Buddha. So that means the mind of the Buddha is around. The mind of the Buddhas is all-pervading, and they have generated bodhicitta, meaning they have a spontaneous wish to be of benefit to others, and they have skillful means. So they're here. It's just that we don't take advantage of that because we don't believe in it. Yeah, we only believe what we see. So you'll be surprised. You know, again, the Buddha cannot perform miracles. But a mind of a fully awakened being, I'm pretty sure, can activate certain things that we cannot activate in ourselves by their compassion or by their wisdom or I don't know what. But we need to have the karma that these positive things can be activated. Like when you are in the intermediate state, it says, even if you're on the way to a lower state, your Lama, your master, he can hook you. So the hook of the master is always there, but if we don't have the ring of devotion and of knowing what this is all about, they can't help us. Like if we don't have the karma to be hooked, no matter how much you know how it is when you want to help somebody, they don't want to be helped. Even you have all the skills, nothing works. Yeah. So here again, very often it's just a matter of doing it. To let go of my arrogance of I need to know what this is all about before I do it. And then it's kind of, for me, it's always a victory against my ego, who is that, you know, who always knows better. And that kind of decreases it. It decreases the power of my ego a little bit when I do things and I have no clue what I'm doing. And this is what I learned in the Tibetan tradition, because I don't speak Tibetan, we do things in Tibetan, I have no clue what I'm saying. Yeah. And sometimes I feel if I do it, because when there's nothing else I can do, but at least this I can do. Yeah, like now for the coronavirus, Lama Zopa sent us some practice, very strange mantras, and this prayer of Sakya to protecting from disease. I do it. I don't know if it works, but at least I can do it. And I feel that when we do these things in a group, when people are ready to do these things that we have no clue if it works, the energy in the group becomes really big, really good. Like when it was for the cause of Tibet, we had to do these long Tara mantras and Tara pujas. And people actually came to do something for Tibet, because me as an individual, what am I going to do for Tibet? But I wouldn't do this, you know, finding a prayer and do this because I don't know. But I trust Lama Zopa that the practices that he's giving us, that he knows why he's giving us these practices. And I trust it, and then I do it, and then we become quite open.
What I don't understand is if you don't even understand what you're saying, if you don't, how can that have any...
You need to do it, then you know.
But if you don't understand...
you need to do it.
What's the difference between that and putting a video cassette? saying the same thing. As a human, you think you're a vehicle because to channel energy into whatever the cause. But if you don't understand what you're saying, how can you be that vehicle?
I don't know how you can be that vehicle, but it works. So this is what I'm saying. You have to do it to see that it works. It took me 2 years of wanting to understand and not doing it properly until I finally gave up wanting to understand and just doing it and then seeing, wow, shit, this works. This is it. How it works, I don't know. Because, you know, I mean, what we know from science, we're so arrogant. We think we know everything. What do we know from? We know nothing. How reality is and how our brain is. How many % of the brain is kind of working? 5, 10?
5, 10.
Yeah, something like this. And when you see the capacities of autistic people who cannot put on their socks, but can look at the phone book and then tell you everything that is written in there, then you can see the power of the mind. Yeah.
Greta.
Thunberg.
Greta.
Can I say something about like not understanding what you're reading?
Yeah.
Please.
I think also all the like most of the monks who start in the monastery, they will like learn how to recite those scriptures by heart, but they don't know anything what they're saying, but they just have to do it, right? And even His Holiness, he's also saying that he couldn't understand in the beginning what he was reading and doing, but now when he's like even more advanced and like looking more into those things, it is so helpful that he has this imprint from the beginning where he learned those scriptures, even if he didn't understand.
Thank you. Yeah. But the Western mind there's a big block there. We have a big block where the Tibetans are more trusting and they just do it. Yeah. So it's a big block for us. It's a big.
No, but I get it. Yeah, I can see how it makes sense. I understand the trust part. I understand about how you're not supposed to, understand everything that Buddha says, but because you understand certain things, then you trust that the rest. But there's still this idea that you know what is being said.
Well, what?
You can learn it.
Yeah.
You can learn it.
You can
learn it. That's true. And then if you know it by heart, then it's easier to learn in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, knowing things by heart, like the Tibetans, they recite very, very quickly. Also, yeah. And I got, usually the Westerners get upset about this thing, but when you know the things, when like the 21 Taras or something like that, then you feel voice and mind becomes almost one, and then it is as if your consciousness is kind of floating on the sound, because sound has a lot of influence on your mind, how you feel, singing and all this, but you need to know it needs to flow, and Tibetan has a lot of R, A, E, O, U, so when you do it in English it doesn't work so well, because it has too many consonants, whereas the Tibetan has a lot of vowels. It's like an opera in German and an opera in Italian is totally different. It's a bit the same. So again, I think it's Tomsa Khyentse Rinpoche who says, look, none of us knows, that's good for you, none of us knows how really the stock market works. We don't know, but we know that it works.
You know what?
That it works.
Right.
But how it works, we don't know. And even we don't know exactly how it works, it still works. So that was the example of Tomsa Khyentse Rinpoche about karma.
But we know how the stock market works.
All the factors that come together.
Factors, yes, but we don't know the future of it.
Then we don't
But
know
we
how
know
it
how
works.
we know how it works. Yes, we know how it functions.
We knew.
But do you really know why this works and this one, which looks exactly the same, does not work? You only know once you see the result, but before you don't know.
Well, here we have the expert.
I mean, it's impossible to predict in that sense.
Prediction is not the future, is it?
If we knew how it worked, then we could.
Then you could predict properly, exactly.
Right? There would be no randomness if we knew how it worked.
You see? I don't know. The definition of
I guess that.
work, how we define how it works.
I guess.
Yeah, you know exactly if you know how it works, you know the outcome.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes, but a storm can come like tonight. There will be a big storm.
Yeah.
There's something terrible coming.
Yeah.
And that will bring everything, that will change everything. And still we know that
we don't know how it will change exactly.
Yeah, no, we don't.
So exactly when we would know how the wind takes that kind of object, then we would know where it's going to fly, but we don't know.
Yeah.
If we would know why the wind is stronger in this corner than in that corner, but we don't know. But we know that the wind kind of blows things away, even though we don't know why here it is stronger than there. It's a bit like this. Okay? Okay, so let's try to do this giving and taking kind of thing. So, first, always it's very good to relax and to think, okay, well, it's almost finished, so you can say, oof, it's almost finished, and or kind of a sense of, I'm glad I came here and I did this, I gave my time. Whatever thought seems to be more helpful for you to relax. Usually the thought, oof, I'm glad it's finished, it creates a habit that we can only be happy when something is finished. And then we start many things and we're not happy doing them because we're waiting for them to finish. So again, so maybe just a thought, how wonderful that I had enough interest and I came here, gave my time to spend these 2 days like that. And observe what kind of emotion or what kind of body sensation it creates. Then you become aware of your body, maybe even, the surroundings a little bit. Be aware of your surroundings, because they're also part of us, these surroundings, because we perceive them. Then come back to the body and to your breathing. How wonderful it is to be able to breathe. I could have asthma. There could be fumes in the air that make me cough or choke. But they're not. So how wonderful it is to be able to breathe. So enjoy your breath. And then you visualize your own goodness in the center of your upper body, like in your heart chakra, in the form of a glowing, small globe or ball of light. So in order to be able to be of benefit to others, we need to nourish ourselves first. So when you breathe in, you think that that small globe of light is growing. It's being nourished, becomes brighter, becomes bigger. And when you breathe out, it expands even more. And as you keep doing that, you can think about all the things that make you worry, all the things that you find heavy, difficult, bothersome, confusing. You can think of them either around you in your surroundings or even in your body as something, black, hot, sticky, fumes, whatever spontaneously, whatever image comes to your mind. And as you're breathing in, you think that you're pure nature mind, that globe of light in your heart, sucks it all in like a vacuum cleaner, and it just dissolves. Now again, don't worry so much, please. How does it work? How can it work? Oh, just do it. Everything that you find heavy, unhealthy habits or something like that, pain, sickness, helplessness, powerlessness, wanting to help but not knowing how, confusion, fears, worries. As you breathe in, it's getting sucked into that globe of light. As you breathe out, the light expands in your body, giving you whatever you want to have: health, peace, freedom. You can use other words. Here you can be very creative. When you breathe in, everything that's heavy, dissolving into your heart. When you breathe out, everything that you find good. Everything that fulfills your yearning for being happy and free. If you get lost in thought, again, just come back to the visualization as you breathe in, like a vacuum cleaner. Everything dissolves in this globe of light. As you breathe out, this light expands until your body becomes a body of light. Dissolves all solidity, but you keep your shape. Pervades you with being comfortable, safe, secure, happy. Or as you breathe in, you can have thoughts like, may I be safe? And go slowly and see what these kind of thoughts, what they do to your mind state, to your body sensations. As you breathe in everything that seems dangerous, and you think, as you breathe out, may I be safe. And you give yourself that safety. Then you can think, may I be protected from physical and mental harm. As you breathe out, you give yourself that protection. Then the thought, may I be strong, healthy, free from fear, and peaceful. As you breathe out, you give yourself that peace, that strength, that courage to bear whatever is there. May I be strong, healthy, loving and peaceful. Another thought will be, may I be able to live my life with joy and ease, not taking everything so seriously. May there be joy in my life. As you breathe out, you give yourself that joy. Again, as you breathe in, you breathe in all the heaviness or whatever prevents you from being joyful. May I be able to live my life with joy and ease. Don't worry about how that will happen. Okay, then you think about somebody that is very dear to you. And you see that I'm not the only one, they're also suffering from insecurity, from fears, from being under the control of their negative emotions. And they don't even have interest in kind of learning these methods. So as you breathe in, if it seems to be too threatening, then you just think about their suffering. That's enough. As you breathe out, because now your body is filled with light, you breathe out light and you give them relief, support, being free from fear. Whatever else you think you want to share with them, you want to share with them. If you can and if you want, you can visualize by breathing in that you're breathing in their suffering that you have anyway also, like especially being under the control of negative emotions, being confused about what brings happiness, what brings suffering. And you can breathe it in the form of black smoke, which then dissolves again in your heart chakra, where we have Buddha nature, where the wisdom, the compassion, the spaciousness, the openness, everything is there. And it just dissolves. By breathing out, the radiance of that light increases, and you give it to the others and you share it with the others. Just see what happens in your heart by breathing in when you think about their suffering. Just see what happens in your heart when you breathe out light and you accompany that light with the thought of, may you be safe. May you be protected from physical and mental harm. May you be strong, healthy, free from fear, and happy, loving, peaceful. May you be able to live your life with joy and ease. then you let that person go. They dissolve. And now you think about somebody that you neither like them nor you dislike them. Might be the lady in the supermarket, might be the bus driver, might be your neighbor that not really interested in. And we start to connect by seeing this is a human being just like me. Doesn't want to suffer, wants to be happy, doesn't know how to be happy. Suffers from attachment, aversion, confusion, fears, jealousy, arrogance, whatever. Suffers from not having what he wants, having what he doesn't want, losing things that he's attached to. Same like me. As you breathe in, you think about this. This person too is suffering. If you feel like you're ready and you want to do that, by breathing in, you breathe in the suffering of that person that you're not so interested in form of black smoke, or hot, sticky, unhealthy, whatever. We notice that here it already becomes a little bit more difficult because we don't have interest. It's only when we see that they're the same as us. It's only that we see that me also, I don't want to have these things. But now with the meditation, I'm not increasing my own shortcomings, but I'm dissolving them in my Buddha nature, in my love, in my compassion, in my concern. So if you want all that sticky black stuff, it dissolves in your heart chakra, being sucked in like a vacuum cleaner. When you breathe out relief, support, form of light that comes from the whole of your body, from all your pores, sharing your goodness with that other person. And again, you accompany it with the thoughts, may you be safe. May you be protected from physical and mental harm. May you be strong, healthy, and peaceful. And may you be able to live your life with joy and ease. Then again, you let that person go and you take somebody that you don't find it so easy to connect with in a good way. Maybe somebody that you're angry at, somebody that has harmed you, somebody that behaves in a way that you totally disapprove. And you start to see this person is suffering even more than other people because of all these negative sides that this person has, because nobody likes them. They meet with a lot of rejection. And I see in my own heart, if I dislike them, there's a big chance that I hurt or harm them if there's an opportunity. So again, if it's too difficult to breathe it in, then just by breathing in, you think about their suffering of rejection, confusion, creating a lot of negative karma for the future. if the person has harmed you, then you can think, okay, my karma of being harmed with that person is finished. The person might repeat the action, but that's not the same imprint. That's another imprint that you have. So for me, it's finished. I can let go. The other person has it in front of them. And then we make a strong wish, maybe in a future life, if I'm drawn towards that person, may it not be me who brings that negative imprint to ripening. May I never ever do to that person or to other people what has been done to me, because I know it hurts. I know it's not right. May I not be led by my tendencies and habits. So if you're strong enough, you can breathe in the future suffering of that person that comes from being so negative. In whatever form you think is appropriate, black smoke, heavy, sticky, hot, unhealthy, impure. But then you don't keep it, it just dissolves. Like when the sun comes, all the clouds dissolve. They don't go anywhere, they just dissolve. Just disappears. And as you breathe out with the strong wish of sharing your wisdom, your compassion, your love, so that this person too can be happy, free from being under the control of wrong views, attachment, greed, anger, hatred, arrogance. So again, the out breath, you just accompany it with the thought, may you be safe. May you be protected from physical and mental harm. May you be strong, healthy, loving and peaceful. And may you have a lot of joy and ease in your life, so that all these negative tendencies, attitudes, habits, emotions lose their grip on you. May you be able to live your life with joy and ease as you breathe out. You don't have to use so many words, it's more the attitude. If the words help, then just use them. But it's really the attitude. May you be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, your negative emotions. As you breathe in, as you breathe out, may you have joy, love, compassion, wisdom, and ease in your life. And then you can take whomever you want. You can take a group of people, you can take a whole town or country or even continent, or you can take the whole universe. To make your mind really, really big and to understand all beings are suffering. All ordinary beings are under the control of their negative emotion. As you breathe in, may they be free from being under the control of their negative emotions. As you breathe out, you want to share all your goodness, your happiness, your ease, your joy, your knowledge, your merits. You breathe it out in the form of light. You give it to the universe, to all beings, the near and the far, the small and the big, the beings in the east, the beings in the south, the beings in the west, the beings in the north, the beings above and below. May all beings be protected from physical and mental harm. As you breathe out. As you breathe in, I'm open to whatever wants to come, because whatever happens to me is a ripening, a consequence of past actions, be it positive, be it negative. I have the tools to deal with it. So when you breathe in, I'm open to whatever wants to come. Try to see what effect that thought has on your mind. And don't manipulate anything, just allow it to happen. It doesn't have to have a certain response or reaction. Just watch, just be aware. As you breathe out, I want to share everything I have with others, especially my joy, my meaningful life, my goodness, my love, my compassion, and my wisdom. And since we've been thinking a lot about death, you can think about your points again, how you would like to die. And I think especially because that was universal. Everybody said the same thing. I want to die with a peaceful mind. So we dedicate for that also. We dedicate that when the end comes near, I know I have to leave this body. May I not be angry at anybody, upset, worried. Afraid, or clinging to something. I'm able to leave this body in a very graceful way, with the thought, well done. And may all beings be able to die with that peaceful mind and the thought, well done. Okay. So this meditation on Tonglen, I know a few forms of Buddhism, but as far as I'm aware, It's only the Tibetans who teach that. And I have to say I'm really grateful, because for me this is one of the most powerful tools to kind of, in a very skillful way, to go against our ego, who always wants something, even though in the head we know it's not the right thing to do. And to really, not to battle it and not to destroy it, but to really see, this is the enemy, but I don't need to destroy it because it doesn't exist anyway, the way that it appears. So Tonglen, this kind of meditation is so powerful to transform your mind and to have more courage, because that's what it's for. So it's thanks to the Tibetans. We owe them a lot, actually, I think, that they, because of their, this is, is it good, is it bad? Is it good when somebody invades your country and you have to become a refugee? Otherwise Tibet would maybe still be as closed as it was. We had no clue what they are teaching. So if you can be like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who says, well, yeah, it's not so good if you have to run away from your country, if you have to flee, but then I have a lot of new friends now that I would never have met before. So we'd never know, can't say, is it good, is it bad? What you make of it, this is what it becomes. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, do you have any questions or comments or whatever some about the meditation we did or about how to help the dying? Or you want to share something?
I would like to thank you very
You are very welcome, Johanna. Thank you very much for participating in this. Everybody, really.
You took me on a long journey.
Hmm?
You took me on a long journey.
Ooh,